We're going to have a quick look at some of the 3D capabilities available to us in Title Studio now. So if I delete the default text layer, I now have an empty timeline. And that's great. Let's create up a new flat text now with 3D lights. And we'll just call this one Title Studio. Going to get nice and creative, stretching really far for that name. And we'll just take the size down a little bit. We'll find a nice big fat font. Like a Source Sans Pro Demi Bold. There we go. Like that. Great. And what you'll see straight away is that we have a fill set on, and the fill is white. But you can see that there is a kind of almost like a gradient going over the top. So it doesn't look completely white. And in fact, if I change this to maybe just a kind of grayish yellow, we can start to work with this a little bit more. Up to my 3D container, and take a look at our lights tab here. And we can have up to 3 different lights applied to our container. And if I use the type drop down, we can choose either a point light or a spotlight. And we'll start with a point light here, and directly on the UI, and we have a fully interactive widget, so we can see what we're doing as we scrub through this here. I'm going to make sure we have animation turned off to begin with, just so that I can play through some of these without affecting it. So the ambient light is just going to bring up the light overall. So without any lights turned on, the ambient light is just going to light up the scene just a bit. We'll leave that actually at 10 to begin with, and let's turn my light back on. And the light itself, I can change the distance that we have from the title. I can change the color of the light. I can change the intensity of the light. And I can change the attenuation of the light as well. So if I put attenuation up just a little bit, you can see that that spread is getting less and less. Take the intensity up, and the attenuation up as well. You can see that the spread is getting less and less there. And I can animate that through. And in fact, let's do exactly that. Let's start off over here, toggle my animation on, set my light Y to linear, move that about 1.5 seconds through, and then I can just scrub that over. There we go. Cool. And if I turn on my second light, and if I make this a spotlight, you can see graphically what the spotlight is looking like. It's pointing here. Actually, turn the animation off there. So we can adjust where it's pointing to. And that's the spot X, Y, and Z. We can adjust where the light is. We select the light. We can adjust that there. And that is the light X, Y, and Z, the distance there. Let's have it so it's just on here. We can adjust the angle. So you can see how wide or how narrow that light is. Keep it nice and narrow. And we can adjust the edge fall off. And you can see the angle is the outer circle here. And we can do the edge fall off as well. So with the edge fall off set to 0, we have a very hard edge going there. And with the edge fall off turned up, we have a nice soft edge happening here. So let's get it just hitting the top and moving through there. We'll have all of these set to constant for the time being. And as that animates in, Let's animate up the spot X. Set that to linear. Take that through. And we'll move the spot X over there. And we will then set that to hold so that it's not going to move anymore. And remember, of course, at the very start, we've always got a keyframe there. So we need to set the start keyframe to the same as this one. So the spot X here, that was what, 119? I think 120. Sounds about right. Yeah. We can animate that up. And we can also animate the colors as we're going through as well. So let's set this to linear and we'll set our colors. We'll have it nice, big and bright. It's going to look gorgeous. And let's take this over here. Set this one to a nice bright green. And that just animates through as well. So you can have nice disco lights happening all the way through. And I'll turn the animation off on here as well because I just want to show you what's going on. Because we're working with flat text with 3D lights, the text itself, as we turn this round and it hits 90 degrees or hits close to the camera, comes edge onto the camera, you can see it is completely flat, but it is still interacting with the lights very nicely. Now, before we move on to extruded text and opening these titles out a little bit, I just want to show you another couple of ways that we can interact with the text itself. And let's just move us along the timeline so I can get the light hitting us a little bit here. You'll see that we have this interactor. This is a way that we can directly work with and update stuff on the timeline. So we can move in X, Y, and Z. Let's just undo that a few times. And if we come over to our toolbar, we can also change this now to a rotating interactive. So we've got this sort of 3D gimbal, and we can either click on one of the axes here, which will line up. So X, Y, and Z. Or if we just click anywhere else in the middle in the sphere here, we can then have a free rotate that's just going around. Lovely. And we'll just undo that a few times. And these interactors will show up on all of our 3D objects. So even things like if I come back in to my scene and turn on another light, you can see that even we've got our interactors working on the light as we've worked with before. If I change this point of light from a point light to a spotlight, now, because I'm still working with rotation, I can now still come in and rotate our light around. So this is just like in real life, if you were just holding the head of the light and you can just panning that around, that works just there. And we can also, if I select the spot in the middle, so the target for the spotlight, the interactor jumps over to the spot now. So I can then orbit my light around the spot rather than tilting and panning the light head. So this is a very powerful way of working with lights. And we can change our interactors directly on the toolbar here. So that's it for this section. We're going to be looking at extruding this text out and working with other 3D objects in the next exercise.